Welcome to Paul Coaching Patrick, the Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host Patrick Smith, joined by my highly capable co-host Paul Smith. I did this like six times.
We wouldn't redo it, but like it's so annoying.
It's so annoying. Oh my god, 6 times, Paul. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one.
I can't get this right.
It's 1:39 in the morning. It's the 25th of September.
Yep, it's coming out today. I'm dropping the pod today because of pregame. We're breaking down Week 3 action. And I think we decided to talk about last night's game, or the night before last, technically. Which is Carolina versus Houston. And I think the big story here is Christian McCaffrey going down, hamstring injury. It's pretty scary for CMC owners. You know, he's
very scary.
Mostly the first overall pick in every draft.
I think his average draft is like 1.2, so he was taking 99.8% of every league first overall.
Yep, just
and then a solemn occasion he wasn't. It was Dalvin Cook, whoever.
He has a cheat code for fantasy when he's healthy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he really does.
But non-contact injury doesn't look the greatest. But hopefully he gets back on the field within a few weeks.
Now there are reports that it's going to be a few weeks, but with hamstrings, it's kind of iffy. The timeline,
very touch and go, touch and go stuff. You know what I'm saying?
You can estimate, in terms of time. I look at like Kenny Golladay right now. He's not fully healthy. He wasn't healthy last year. And that kind of hampered his 2020 season.
Yeah. I did see a breakdown of hamstring injuries that went on for months.
It's
so hopefully they can rehab him. Hopefully it's not too bad.
I mean, his workout regimen is ridiculous. The man is
he's a monster.
Yeah, he's physically gifted.
He's a monster.
So hopefully this will not impede his ability to come back relatively soon. But we're just hoping for the best.
Yeah. Talking to the mic, Paul. Gosh.
Am I not talking to the mic?
You're like. I don't know.
I'm
just trying. I mean,
well,
you don't project your voice too much.
I do not project my voice.
I love this guy so much. All right.
I love it.
So we're starting. We're gonna start off with the. All right. Well, I might be a little biased here, but we're gonna talk about DJ Moore. He's on my fantasy team. He blew up last night.
Just a little biased.
He should have had a touchdown.
Teensy little biased.
He had the touchdown. They blew the whistle too early. He didn't even show the replay. I knew it was a touchdown watching full speed. I was like, oh, he did not touch the ground. And guess what? Take that touchdown away. Blew the whistle. That next play, they get a false start, which is not actually a false start. Whatever. But DJ Moore, last night he had 8 receptions for 126 yards, no touchdowns, unfortunately, but he had 12 targets. 12 targets. I think 8 of those came in the first.
There was one in I believe it was the fourth quarter, where Sam Darnold, if he hits him up the seam, it was just like a step off. If he hits him, just going like he had the safety beat and going to take it in for a touchdown.
Yeah, just a fingertip. If he was a half step further, he would have got that.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold had a pretty good night. Let me pull up his stats real quick.
Over 300 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 27 points in our league. We're standard scoring a point for every 25 yards for us, 6 points for every touchdown.
So Sam Darnold's looking pretty good this year. He's only had 1 interception so far. Last 2 games, he's had over 300 yards passing. I mean, this is Sam Darnold's. I truly believe in Sam Darnold. I think he drafted to the Jets is just where your career is going to die.
Yeah.
And
welcome to the New York Jets as we transition from the Mets to the Jets. Transition.
Oh
God, I feel so bad for Mets and Jets fans because
it's so sad.
God, it's awful. It's just awful. Sorry, guys.
No, I don't know who took the majority of the workload after CMC went down.
That's Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard.
Tua Hubbard. Out of Oklahoma State.
52 yards, not too shabby.
No, he was looking good after they gave him more carries. I think he just needed to get touches and get a feel for the speed because he hasn't played in the regular season, and considering that CMC likes to take every single one to say he's always on the field. That's why he's such an enticing player to take first overall in fantasy. Is because he's always on the field.
Now, I think what we learned from last night is that Brandon Cooks doesn't need a quarterback
Nope.
to do well.
Nope.
Brandon Cooks is if you guys got him in the late round, he is a steal this year.
He is a steal.
He has 9 receptions the last 2 games, 5 in the first game. He's at 11 targets last night, 112 yards, no touchdowns, but I mean, still a monstrous game.
And it's not. This is Davis Mills' first start in the NFL. He's a rookie out of Stanford, 3rd round pick. He had a pretty good game. The Carolina defense, though, those are some dogs.
Yes.
Those are some dogs, yeah. Because, I mean, you look at Brian Burns, former 1st round pick. You look at Brown, also from 1st round pick, top 5 pick. Shaq Thomas, crazy good linebacker, really has taken over that leadership role since Lee Kuechly left. J.C. Horn has looked good. Unfortunately, he went down. I'm not sure the timeline on him, but he broke his foot, and that's unfortunate. That's usually like a 2-month thing, unless you're T.O. and you're making a Super Bowl run, and you come back 6 weeks after you break a foot. Whatever, broke a leg rather, but still. That's usually like a 2-month thing. But J.C. Horn, really good player. They have some really, really, really good players on defense, and.
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly,
Hassan Reddick.
The game shouldn't have been as close as it was. I think Chris McCaffrey going down kind of slowed the pace.
Significantly, yes.
Significantly. They went for 2 4th downs, 4th and 1s. They didn't get either one of them, it's sad. They're in the red zone. You know, they couldn't finish their drives. It should have been a blowout.
Yeah, they really should have.
I mean, you know, but it is what it is. Paul, what game are we breaking down first? This is where we get into speculation. We got our
we're gonna talk about the Chargers and the Chiefs, for week 3, which is right now, and yeah, Chargers and Chiefs at 1 p.m. kickoff. Really a good game. The obvious for me is Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. Whether Tyreek Hill is he's going to get blanketed. It's whether the Chargers can stop him, and I just think he's going to get one of those bombs just thrown to him. And
now Patty's had over 300 yards passing the last 2 games against Baltimore and Cleveland. Pretty good defenses.
Pretty good defenses.
3 touchdowns in both. 1 interception in the last game against
First
Baltimore.
interception in his career in September. Came on Monday Night Football.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah, he
and I honestly believe if Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not fumble that ball, Chiefs are marching down, they're kicking that field goal, and they're winning the game.
Poor Clyde. He's looking pretty slow this year.
Yeah, really.
When you have that many offensive wide receivers, targets,
you're talking about Hill. You're talking about Hill. Obviously, Kelsey. Pringle has really stepped up and been a really consistent target for Patrick Mahomes.
Let's see Pringle's little stats here.
He's not
2 targets in both, 3 receptions overall, 63 yards.
Yeah, I think he's a big play guy, man. Yeah. He's a big play guy, and I think that the biggest
play guy is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, obviously it's Tyreek Hill. And Travis Kelce, who basically ran over the Baltimore defense. I mean, they were corners trying to tackle him, and he's just like, "No, get off me."
Now, with Tyreek Hill, his last game wasn't that the greatest. He had 4 targets, 3 receptions for 14 yards.
Yeah, so they blanket coveraged him. They had they had Humphreys on them a lot. But basically there are at any given time 2 to possibly 3 defenders in his area just to make sure he doesn't, blow up.
Yeah,
that's
makes sense.
Yeah, that's a guy you can't let get away from you.
But Travis Kelce did make up for Tyreek's,
and that's what Patrick Mahomes looks for. If you're gonna double or somehow triple team Tyreek Hill, Kelce's gonna be open 1-on-1 or no one near him.
He had 7 receptions. He had 8 targets, 109 yards, and a touchdown.
The touchdown was ridiculous. If you haven't seen the touchdown, go watch the touchdown. It's utterly ridiculous. It literally looks like a grown man playing against children.
Now, I just want to get a little breakdown of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's had under 50 yards the last 2 games, no touchdowns.
They don't run the football. I don't think they.
He's had 3 receptions in the first game for
The
29
Chiefs just
yards.
they don't run. I think they treat the passing game as an extension of the run.
Yeah,
and,
true.
You know, with Andy Reid doing all his pre-snap motion stuff to determine where people are going to be, and Patrick Mahomes being so intelligent, understanding. Okay, I have man coverage. I got somebody over here that's on man. I got Travis Kelce over here, man coverage against a safety, and like that's Travis Kelce all day. Like he's gonna find that. He's gonna get him open. He's gonna throw a back shoulder if he needs to. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is ridiculous.
Travis Kelce, Tyreek, Patty Mahomes, they're easily instant starts.
Yeah,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a risky start. Honestly, he was kind of a risky draft pick coming into this year.
Truly. I mean, you want to see him get involved in the passing game somewhat, but
Patty doesn't dump those balls off.
He doesn't.
He's
looking. Yeah, he constantly backpedals to just give his guys time to get open because you can't cover in the NFL for 7 seconds. You can't do it. These guys are too good.
Let's move on to the Chargers. Justin Herbert.
Yeah, that's an instant starter. You got to start him.
Yeah, Justin Herbert's he's looking pretty good. Besides the interceptions, he's had 4 so far.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
He's had over 300 yards per game. He's 31 for 30, 31 for 41, 31 for 47. So pretty good completion percentage. He's had 2 touchdowns so far. A little slow start, but I mean the yards are there. Yeah. I think the talent's easally there.
The touchdowns are going to come. I think it's just a matter of time. Mike Williams is playing like an all-star. I'm sorry, all-pro. Yeah. God, I've been watching too much baseball. But yeah, Mike Williams is looking really good. Keenan Allen is he's solid. He is very solid. He gets targets. He's going to eat those targets. And Eckler out of the backfield, I think as Herbert gets more comfortable with Eckler, because Eckler was hurt last year, Eckler is going to be a guy that I think later in the season, if you drafted him, you're going to be very happy you have him on your team because he is he's great at catching the ball and getting yards.
Just want to break down Mike Williams, 7 receptions, 91 yards in his last game for a
touchdown. Balling out.
The previous game, 8 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good stat lines.
Former first-round pick out of Clemson.
Really. So I mean, he just goes up. Injuries are a little scary for him. But you also look at Keenan Allen. He had 4 receptions for 108 yards last game. No touchdowns thus far in his first game. It was 9 receptions for 100 yards. Still pretty good stat lines for no touchdowns.
It's kind of hard to find Keenan Allen in the red zone open because they're keen on him. There's no Hunter Henry there anymore. So it's kind of hard for Herbert to find Allen, and I don't think he wants to force anything. Brandon Staley, who I did mistake for Brandon Stokely, the former Broncos wide receiver. Basically, he's probably telling him, don't force anything. Let the defense do what it can do, what it's capable of doing, and we'll win games. And just don't make mistakes. That's essentially what he's probably saying.
So Austin Eckler, his last game he had 54 yards. His longest rush was 20 yards. He only has 1 touchdown this year. It was against Washington in the first game. Last game he really blew up because of his receiving. He had 9 receptions for 61 yards, which is a receiver. I mean, he's a receiving back.
That's what
why.
You want.
I mean, he's one of the top running backs in the league. I mean, we're moving more and more towards a receiving back. If you're not a receiving back, you have to be Derrick Henry.
Yeah, you have to be Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb.
Yeah, to run the ball, just run the ball.
Yeah,
you have to be a monster like that. All right, what game we going to next, Paul?
We are going to the Cardinals and Jaguars.
Check out these Cardinals. Let's start with quarterback. A little bit of Kyler Murray action. I love Kyler Murray for as short as he is.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. His arm talent is absurd. He's my height. I'm 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, I don't know how he generates that power.
Yeah, I just like Dak has the hip thing that he does, like where he just shakes his hips and just he put that amount of velocity on the ball, but like Kyler doesn't do that, and he's still like able to gun it out there. And you're like, what?
Ridiculous. Okay, so his first game, he went out and got 289 yards, for 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Pretty phenomenal game. And then he comes out the next week against Minnesota, which was just a shootout. It was just a shootout last week in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He comes out for 400 yards with 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yeah, I mean,
you want to limit those mistakes, but
yeah, they definitely were mistakes. He wasn't throwing the tight coverage. It was pretty poorly thrown balls, you know.
Yeah.
But it was him trying to just keep up with the fast-paced game. I mean, that was a shoot out there.
I mean, you're starting DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of people like Rondale Moore. I do like Rondale Moore, but I think Christian Kirk's going to show up and show out this year. And I think, based on his week 1, which was phenomenal, I really like Christian Kirk. I think he's a phenomenal wide receiver, and I think this year he's going to show it because they have AJ Green on the outside. They have Rondale Moore. They have receiving threats. You talk about Chase Edmonds, who is kind of a receiving back, but I don't.
Oh, sorry, I just want to stop you there.
Yeah.
Okay, with Christian Kirk, he had 3 receptions for 4 targets. The targets aren't really there because there's a lot on the offense they can use.
There is a lot.
That's the only reason why I don't like Christian Kirk so much. He's kind of touchdown dependent.
He really is. You're looking for those. You're really looking for those explosive plays, but I think Kyler Murray does trust Christian Kirk, and that really means something.
You look at DeAndre Hopkins. His stat line last week was 4 targets. He had 4 receptions. He caught all of those.
Yeah.
He had a touchdown and 54 yards. Well, I mean, pretty decent stat line, and that's a top receiver in the league.
Yeah.
But he's going to trust him in the end zone over anyone.
Truly.
Rondale Moore, he's kind of blowing up a little bit, you know.
Yeah. Rondale Moore is the kind of guy that's lost in the shuffle with all the names that are there. I mean, I pretty much said them all. But
he had more targets than
Christian Kirk.
They had more targets than actually
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins. He had 8 targets for 7. He had 7 receptions on 8 targets for 114 yards.
Yeah, well, Minnesota's defense hasn't played particularly well.
Yeah, they're supposed to be a little bit better this year, but it doesn't really. I mean, I think it's going to be shootouts, and that offense is going to be dependent. You know.
Yeah.
Our boy Kirk Cousins, baby, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul, we're both Michigan and Michigan State in the top 25.
Oh yeah.
Woo.
Michigan's going to run all over Rutgers today.
Today. Keep forgetting. Okay, let's get to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence. First overall pick. You know, a lot of people are looking at him and saying, "Oh well, you know, he and Zach Wilson suck." Well, guys, this is
they're on terrible teams.
They're on terrible teams, and this is their second game starting. Like, it takes time, but once they start getting it, and once they start getting weapons in there, you're gonna see a notable difference from year 1 to year 2, maybe even later on this season. It's difficult for a first time head coach in the NFL who's only coached in college to take a rookie quarterback first overall pick and have him play well throughout the season. And I'd say be patient. You know, this is a guy that maybe if you're in the keeper league, you may want to look at
maybe. I don't know.
As a keeper potentially next year.
So Houston, he did have over 300 yards, which was decent, but it was all garbage time. You know,
it really was.
Just coming back, you know, just throwing the ball deep. He had three interceptions that game, 2 in the last game against Denver, which he had 118 yards. He has 4 touchdowns this year, which is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's not a lot going on. Jacksonville offense.
If you're gonna start any one of those receivers, I would say Marvin Jones. He is the He's the number one receiver there.
So last game he had 11 targets, 6 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah,
the previous game he has a touchdown and 77.
He's a leader in the locker room. First year voted team captain, which that's not easy to do, and you really have to stand out to do that in the NFL locker room. So, I mean, if you're starting anyone, it's Marvin Jones.
Shenault actually had seven targets.
Yes, Shenault. I really do like Shenault. Yeah. In deeper leagues, I would go with Shenault, but considering the fact that it's
his 7 targets only led to 2 receptions for -3 yards last game. Pretty bad. Denver's defense is pretty
good.
Pretty good for Jackson.
I mean, this could be a situation with garbage time points. So if you want to throw him in deeper leagues, yeah, go do it. If you're in a 12-team league and you need a flex,
his first game looked pretty good. He had 10 targets for 7 receptions.
I mean, targets mean
yards.
It means something.
Touchdown,
it means something.
It does mean something. I actually started Chark last week.
It still beat me by like fucking 60.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Still beat Paul.
Sorry.
So Chark only had 4 targets, 1 reception for 19 yards. The first week he did pretty well. He had 3 receptions for 12 targets, which is pretty. I don't know. I didn't watch those. I haven't seen them. I don't know if it was his fault, if it's Trevor Lawrence overthrowing him. I want to say it was the latter, but you never know. But he had a touchdown, 41 yards. I thought Chark was.
There's no way to know.
Yeah, honestly, I think.
Who's watching Jacksonville?
Yeah, Chark is just the kind of hope he gets garbage time points. I mean, everyone on Jacksonville, you're just hoping for garbage time points. Let's be honest. Yes. Some Antonio Brown with the Steelers, garbage time points. I love that back in the day, baby. Yeah. All right, well, there's the next game, Paul.
The next game is the Chicago Bears going to the Cleveland Browns.
All right, so we have a new starting quarterback,
Justin Fields in Chicago.
Does he keep the job?
I think he keeps the job simply because once you throw him out there, you can't just reel him back. I know that Matt Nagy has said when Andy Dalton's healthy, he's our starter, but you can't. I look at this like Justin Herbert last year, week 2, Tyrod Taylor, week 2, right before. Gets scratched, and it's like you have to go up against Super Bowl champions. And did they take him out? No.
Oh yeah, Justin Fields only has a rushing touchdown this year, no passing touchdowns. He did come in. What quarter did he come in? I'm not 100% sure, but he came in middle of the game. His completion percentage is 46, 6 for 13.
He did not look good, but it's his first NFL action, real. Bullets coming at you.
I truly believe he's a pretty good rookie.
I would have liked to draft him.
Yeah, as a Lions fan.
Yeah, as a Lions fan, but as someone who just despises the Bears, I hate
it. Offensive line is looking pretty good, but what can we say? Okay, we're talking about the Bears.
We're not talking about the Lions. I know.
I love talking about the Lions. Them same old Lions.
But yeah, I think this maybe hurts Allen Robinson's stock a little bit because they don't have that chemistry between he and Justin Fields. Justin Fields essentially has been the scout team quarterback and hasn't really done much.
Yeah, so for the last game, Robinson had 2 receptions on 4 targets for 24 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown kind of saved him on a fantasy day.
Yeah.
But the previous game, he had 11 targets for 9 receptions and 35 yards, no touchdown.
Yeah, it was.
So Allen Robinson's kind of a little disappointing thus far this year, but I do believe once Justin Fields gets into his rhythm, they should be able to equalize it. Yeah. I don't think Robinson's actually going to be a top, wide receiver this year.
I think he'll
top 10. I had him in top 10, and seeing how they played thus far, I don't think he's gonna be a top 10 receiver.
I think the Bears are gonna have to come from behind a lot, and they're gonna have to throw a lot, and that's why I like Allen Robinson this year. I think he's an excellent receiver. Only dropped 1 pass last for 102.
Now, who I was interested by is Darrell Mooney.
Darrell
Mooney. I just know Mooney. I just know Mooney, Paul.
Yeah.
So he had 6 receptions and 8 targets for 66 yards. No touchdowns thus far. Unless he got rushing. He did not. But Better than week 1 where he only had 5 receptions, 26 yards. If you're in full PPR, he's pretty decent. He's getting you consistent points, which is nice. But yeah, they're not looking at him as much as Allen Robinson. So I mean that might also be your garbage time points too. You might be stealing those away.
I think it really is predicated on whether they can run the football and how David Montgomery plays.
Let's talk a little bit about David Montgomery here.
Oh, he's looked really good.
He has looked really good. Actually,
I don't think this offensive line can hold up over the course of a 17-game season and be consistent run blockers. Now, I've been proven wrong before, but I mean, this offensive line is not good. It's just not good.
Oh, Montgomery only has 1 touchdown this year. His first game, he come out with 108 yards. The second game, it's 61 yards. Receiving, not too.
Yeah, you're not gonna see much of
between the tackles.
Yes, he is that Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb type. Which, speaking of which,
a little about Chubbsters.
So, Nicholas Chubbsters.
Nicholas Chubbsters.
I call him Nicholas Chubbsters. You know what?
Can give a stat line here really quick. Last week he had 95 yards, 1 touchdown. His long was 26, and the first week against Kansas City he had 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. Monstrous day. His receptions, I mean, he's 3 receptions thus far this year.
Yeah, he's not the receiving back. He is a small Derrick Henry, but I would not call him small to his face.
He just runs anger. He just angrily runs.
He can. He squatted 600 pounds. That's ridiculous. That is absurd. I love the way he runs the football. It's downhill. It's north south. I like even love the way he stands in the backfield before he's handed. Like a lot of guys bend their knees, and he just stands up straight. Oh God! Like how do you tackle that guy?
Yeah, so they do have Kareem Hunt there, who kind of vultures a little bit of his thunder and lightning, but nothing. A little
bit of his value is diminished by Kareem Hunt being there, but I think it does help a lot because they can put him on the sideline and say, "Hey, you're gonna sit out unless we get into the red zone or something, and we're on the goal line and we need you to run in there." That's Nick Chubb territory all day. He's your goal line back. Really excited about this season for him. I think that he'll end the year with at least 13 touchdowns.
Okay, so let's go over a little Bill Baker Mayfield. So last game he went for 19 for 21 for 213 yards, a touchdown and an interception. His first game he only had an interception. It's Kansas City, but he does have a rushing touchdown last week in Houston. He's doing decent. He doesn't have OBJ out there right now,
who has been cleared to play on Sunday. We'll see if he suits up. We don't
Jarvis
know.
Landry just got injured.
So. Jarvis Landry is on the IR. I don't know the timeline on that right now, but it's kind of up in the air. I think, at the very minimum, he's missing 3 weeks. So,
and I mean, I know. I actually saw a crazy stat line. I always want to see this. David Njoku, had like on receptions or I don't know what I saw. Just maybe I'm wrong on this. I don't know. I mean, week 1 he had 3 receptions and 5 targets for 76 yards, which is kind of what we expected from David Njoku when he's coming on in the league, and when Browns were they
drafted
OBJ
him. They drafted
and then he got injured, and I mean.
Let's talk. I really like David Njoku as a person. Like he's just talented. Man, like
I'm just looking at depth of receiver here, and I just don't know who he's over when OBJ. OBJ if he plays this week, he's
there is a rookie out of Auburn. Did you?
Jamarcus Bradley, Davion Davis, or Rashad Higgins. Joe Natson, Jonathan Jones, and Anthony Schwartz.
I really like this guy. I've Go blue.
So
Donovan Peoples-Jones, who did have a fumble last week. So that was disappointing, but no, I don't really blame him for that. More the defender played that perfectly. But yeah, I don't think you have the household names, but you have that running game. As long as that running game
solid.
And that defense just plays.
I think you can make the plays to get them in position where they can run the ball.
You can make the play.
Yeah,
do that.
Full tilt. Our next game here, bud.
Our next game is the Washington football team, and yeah,
heated here, baby.
Western New York, baby.
Shout out to my Bills Mafia. All right, let's start with a quarterback situation. So we have Heinicke starting.
Taylor Heinicke.
I don't
yeah, I've heard people call him Tyler Heinicke.
Yeah, no one needs to really know his name. It's it's magic, baby.
You know what? Heinicke a lot. That's why they didn't draft a really well on Thursday.
Yeah, so
well enough to get them the win. And his last touchdown, I mean, he threw it up there and gave his guy a shot, and Ricky Seals-Jones came down with the ball, and then won the game.
His stat line last week was 34 for 46, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception.
Great game, by the way. Absolutely phenomenal game. And if Dexter Lawrence doesn't jump off sides, the Giants are 1-1 right now, and I bet that's pissing off a lot of Midtown New Yorkers right now.
Only imagine. So let's talk about my McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin.
God, he's so ridiculous.
Oh, week 1
sneaking out.
Ridiculous circus catch that I don't.
Yeah, I
like, you had to see it in slow mo to really appreciate how he contorts his body.
I literally can't do it right now.
But he's like a
Patty bulging disc. I'm Patty. I'm Patty herniated disc over here. I can't bend over backwards right now.
But he's literally like he'll get the stats, and that's
his first game. He caught all of his targets 4 for 4, 62 yards, no touchdowns. But his second game, he comes out 11 receptions on 14 targets, 107 yards, and a touchdown.
It just seemed like the Giants didn't know how to stop him at all.
It's just week in and week out. He's just a monster.
And Heinicke was making good decisions up until that interception.
Yeah.
To, ironically, Terry McLaurin.
Crazy. But a little lackluster season for Antonio Gibson. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying he's not doing great or anything, but he's just not doing as well as people kind of hope.
Expecting. I mean, he's converted to wide receiver. He's still learning the position. He said he's still learning the position. And then let's see how this goes. This is a pretty good offensive line. They have a good defensive line, although they haven't been able to get pressure like they wanted.
They are going up against the Bills defense this week. These are 2 pretty good, decent defenses. Washington's kind of a little worse for the wear than last year. Last year they looked really good.
The Bills defense has looked really good.
Bills defense stood up this year. They are doing phenomenal. Shut up, my Bills. Bills Mafia. Woo, don't stab us.
Western New York.
Don't stab us. I don't want to get stabbed. I love the Bills.
Western New York.
But anyway,
beautiful place.
He has 69 yards in his last game against the Giants, 90 in his first game. He has no touchdowns this year thus far. I don't think I'm just predicting. I don't think he's getting a touchdown this week. I'm just saying, unless they start utilizing him receiving and just dumping him off, maybe he can.
Yeah, they might have to change. Yeah, they might have to change that up because it can't just be McLaurin beating them. I mean, Humphreys was playing pretty well, but that interception by James Bradbury was just beautiful last week. He really drove on that, and he showed why he's a really good corner and really respected throughout the league.
So let's break down to my boy, Joshy Javelins. Shout out Joshy Javelins, throwing javelins all over the place. Not the greatest start to this season. But I don't listen. This is not. It's not. I don't think this is Josh Allen's fault. So this is Pittsburgh, pretty stout defense first week coming out. Now he started off with 270 yards. He went 30 for 51, which is not the greatest, but he did have a touchdown, no interceptions in that game. He did get sacked 3 times though. But Miami, he did throw an interception. He went 17 through 33 for 179 and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, decent. He had 44 rushing yards in his first game, 35 in his last one. He's not rushing as much as he did or used to.
Yeah, that is.
They're kind of reeling him in a little bit because they want. An
investment right there.
Yeah.
That's a guy that they gave a lot of guaranteed money to go and play quarterback for them. So yeah, they're telling him not to run as much, and it diminishes his fantasy value a bit. But I think once he gets his feet under him, because a lot of these guys don't play in the preseason, and this is their first. These are his first 2 games of the season. Once he gets into his groove and starts feeling it,
yeah,
he's gonna be fine.
He's definitely gonna progressively get better. But these are 2 decent defenses.
Yeah,
honestly.
truly.
So I do think it's the defense. He's going up against another good defense,
Yeah.
But he typically, he would be able to feast on the crapper defenses. But also, I think he would have some spectacular games against some good defenses because he had to throw the ball to keep up.
They don't really have a running game. Devin Singletary hasn't really shown much.
I mean,
we don't have to go far into Devin Singletary. I was just commenting on the running.
I mean, I think Devin Singletary had some decent. I mean, it was 82 yards, 72 yards, and a touchdown last week. That's a pretty decent stat line. I think they do have some running game, but I don't think teams are going to really respect it. That's why he got so much.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, they're not. Let's not go too deep into it. But Zach Moss, he hasn't been.
He was a healthy scratch week 1, and you don't know why that is.
Last week, just nothing. I mean, yeah, they're not really feared. Honestly, the running back 1 there is Josh Allen. Let's be realistic.
Yeah, really.
They're trying to reel him back in. But the wide receivers, let's look a little bit of Cole Beasley action for 4 for 4, 36 yards in last game. So nothing crazy with Cole Beasley. But honestly, it's mostly Stephon. Josh Allen just trusts Stephon.
Yeah.
He had 4 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown last week. He went 9 for 13 and 69 yards in week 1. So I mean, they had that connection. It's Stephon Diggs. He's gonna be a top 10 receiver. And Emmanuel Sanders is actually. I mean, they have a little bit of rapport. If they get that connection going, I mean, whoo!
Yeah, that slot position
threat,
could be
baby.
very
deep threat. And
very
Josh
scary.
has that arm, dude.
Very scary.
Has that arm.
I mean, you could even put Beasley on the outside and have Emmanuel Sanders your corner or a linebacker slot, and you just beat you against that.
What can you do, Paul? What can you do?
Yeah.
All right, next game, baby.
Next game is the Colts and Titans.
All right, so let's start off with our little quarterback position with Carson Wentz and the Colts. Carson Wentz is looking pretty decent. He was connecting with Michael Pittman a lot.
Yeah.
So last game he went 20 for 31, 247, a touchdown, an interception, 37 yards rushing.
The Colts have such a difficult schedule this year. Their first five games are against all playoff teams last year. And they've lost their first 2 games, and it's understandable. But like at the same time, you got to win games. And Carson Wentz went down with ankle injury. Obviously, still kind of dealing with the foot a little bit because had surgery like 6 weeks
questionable. It's a game time decision.
Yeah, it is a game time decision, and they're gonna probably start Ellinger, the rookie out of Texas, if he doesn't go. But yeah, I would just say that I think they need to run the football more. I think they need to get Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines on the field at the same time. Nyheim Hines is a great receiving back. Maybe a 1-2 punch sort of situation because they have a phenomenal offensive line. Eric Fisher came back last week.
It was crazy. They do have 3 pretty decent running backs. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Nyheim Hines is phenomenal. And then Marlon Mack, before he got injured, he was
balling out.
Steal.
Balling out.
A steal every single.
Yeah.
They need to utilize their running game.
And just not put it all on Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz has magical plays in him, man. He does. If you don't believe that, you're a fool. But yeah, they just need to utilize the running game more.
Yeah, I mean they're dumping it off week 1 against Seattle. Jonathan Taylor had 6 receptions for yards.
Yeah, that's nice to get him involved in the.
He had 56. He had 56 yards rushing. Last week he had 51 yards rushing.
But you don't have Ty there right now, and Ty is on IR, and he's probably not going to be back until maybe late October, early November.
But you know who they do have there, Paul? And you know what I'm going to talk about, Paul. Mr. Pittman Jr. He blew up last week. Drafted him pretty low.
Yeah, he was really good at USC. Go watch his USC highlights and see why he was taken so high. He's just a really solid receiver, and I think that typically the first year for rookie wide receiver, it's difficult learning all these concepts. But once you get it, and if you're talented enough, which Pittman is very talented, this could be sky's the limit if Carson Wentz can stay healthy.
Oh, he had 8 receptions on 12 targets for 123 yards, no touchdowns. But week 1 was a pretty healthy scratch. He had 3 receptions, 4 targets, which is decent. 9 yards. He caught 3 of the 4, which is nice. But I did drop him after. I did drop him before week 1. But yeah, I drafted him. I like him. I think he's well with Carson Wentz, but I don't know how it's going to affect when Ty comes back. Also, Zach Pascal. Pascal has kind of been the touchdown king in Indianapolis thus far. He has 3 touchdowns on the year. Hasn't gotten over 50 yards yet, but
yeah, he's a red zone friend. He's a big guy, good route runner.
Very, very solid.
A guy that you could really play in a flex position. You needed it and feel pretty comfortable. I mean, he's touchdown dependent, but still.
Now let's go to Tennessee. Mr. Ryan Tannehill. Week 1 came out. They got kind of dominated at the line of scrimmage. Tannehill got sacked 6 times.
Yeah, 5 by Chandler Jones.
Ridiculous. They ended up losing that game. His stat line: 212 yards, 21 completions, and 35 attempts. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Last week he had 0 touchdowns. 0 interceptions. Got sacked 3 times. 27 completions on 40 attempts for 347 yards. So he moved the ball. He should have had a touchdown last week to Julio Jones. Julio Jones blew it up. We're going to talk about him in a second. But I believe he got both feet down. He touched the toe, and then his heel touched out of bounds. That's how I saw it, and that's a touchdown, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, these refs. What are these refs doing, Paul? What are these refs doing? What can we do with these refs, Paul?
I don't know what the catches anymore.
What the?
I don't know what the catches anymore.
Yeah. All right. Let's check out Julio's stat line from last week. He had 6 receptions on 8 targets for 128 yards, no touchdowns. He should have 1 touchdown plus however long that touchdown was. Week 1, he didn't do really anything. 3 receptions on 6 targets for 29 yards. Yeah, pretty sad for Julio, but I believe Julio's going to do pretty well when they get him open. Now, A.J. Brown, week 1 he did have a touchdown, 4 receptions on 8 targets for 49 yards. Last week he only had 3 receptions for 43 yards and no touch. So Julio's kind of vulturing those
those targets. Yeah,
those targets.
I mean, it's going to vary week to week. It really depends on how defenses view who the bigger threat. Yeah, bigger threat is. But I mean, the biggest threat for Tennessee is standing in the backfield, and he had 147 yards in the second half. Mr. Derrick Henry.
This is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry kind of got shut down week 1. I mean, by shut down, I mean 58 yards. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But week 2, he comes out 128 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just a monstrous human being. You know, I don't like. Oh God, it's scary, dude.
That's second half for him.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
They just barely won an OT too.
Yeah,
crazy.
They had to let him back in the game. It really did.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, oh, you can't go wrong with Derrick Henry. I mean,
yeah.
Gosh. All right, what's our next game, baby?
Our next game is the Saints and the Patriots.
Let's start with this. Let me. Our quarterback, as our one league member says, future Hall of Famer.
One league member. Yeah, oh, he's very much on the Jameis Winston's going to be a future Hall of Famer, which could happen.
Okay, so game 1 they went out and stomped Green Bay, and
well, I mean, he was looking pretty right there.
Pretty good. 14 for 20, 148 yards, 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns, 148 yards. Ridiculous. Comes out week 2 against Carolina's stout defense.
We talked about their defense.
Stout defense. 11 completions on 22 attempts for 111 yards. No touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Like that defense.
Yeah, it's crazy. I believe the Saints are better than last week's.
Yeah, they had 7 coaches in the COVID protocol, so 7 of the coaches couldn't travel to coach that game. It's gonna look different. I think this is an anomaly for the Saints. This is you played a pretty good Panthers team. I'm pretty sure they were in Carolina. You're looking for a better performance. It is not good when Alvin Kamara does not touch the ball.
Yeah, and so
it's not good.
So Alvin Kamara had 8 attempts for 5 yards. No touchdowns. He had 4 receptions for 25 yards. Didn't look good last week at all. Week 1, he did blow up a little bit. 20 attempts for 83 yards. He did have a receiving touchdown on 3 receptions for 8 yards. He looked good week 1. Week 2, it's just
get him the ball and don't shy away from what has gotten you to a position where you are. Sean Payton, don't do that.
Oh, Paul, is there any receiver that sticks out to you? For the New Orleans Saints?
I mean, a lot of people talk about Marquez Callaway, a sleeper. Traquan Smith, who caught Drew Brees' record.
Is it until Michael Thomas? Are there any sure starters on?
I would say no.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
I would say no.
Until Michael Thomas comes back and we see how informed.
Maybe some deeper league flex starts, yeah, maybe. But until Michael Thomas comes back, I want to see this offense with Jameis healthy, with Alvin Kamara healthy, with Michael Thomas healthy, because that might blow up in the NFC South, and that is a difficult decision.
Now let's look at the little New England Patriots. A little baby Mac Jones. He had 22 completions on 30 attempts for 186 yards. No touchdowns last week. He did have 1 the week prior. He got sacked 4 times thus far. Not looking too shabby.
No, he's just a really solid quarterback. I don't think they have the talent there right now. They have good tight ends. They paid Smith. Smith from the Tennessee Titans. They also played Hunter Henry from the Chargers. I would say that with him, it's not this year. This year is kind of more of a learn the game, learn how to play, learn the speed of this game, and we'll try to find you weapons.
So I want to talk about my boy. Damian Harris. They got rid of Sonny Michel right before the beginning of the season.
Trade to the Rams.
And that left Harris as the number 1 running back there. And he has stepped up to the plate.
He really has. Yeah.
He really has. His first game, he got 100 yards exactly, no touchdowns on 23 attempts. And then last week, he got 16 attempts. He had 62 yards and a touchdown. His long was 26. I believe that 26 was his rushing touchdown.
Yeah, I believe so.
Which he was just shaking people off, off. Looking good. He's looking good.
Yeah, he really is
coming into form. I think if he ups the problem with him is James White in the backfield.
Yeah, gonna
Getting
steal
those
touches, and Bill Belichick hates your fantasy team. He just does.
He just does.
So you don't know week from week.
Oh, ridiculous. But I mean, wide receivers over there, I don't know of any that are sticking out. Kendrick Bourne, maybe
Kendrick Bourne.
Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers is their man, but mostly it's their tight ends. And
yeah,
I don't know. It's a rookie QB. You know?
Yeah, I would say be patient with Mac Jones. I really do like Mac Jones, and again, if you're in a keeper league and you have the ability to keep Mac Jones next year, maybe take that, because I don't think the Patriots are going to win the AFC East or even compete for the AFC. I think it's the Bills and Dolphins. So yeah, just be patient.
Next game, Paul.
Next game. I apologize.
Oh no, you're good.
Next game is the Falcons and the Giants.
I get a little bit here. Now the Atlanta Falcons have looked pretty poor this year. Pretty poor.
Yeah.
Let's look a little bit Matt Ryan action. So okay. So last game they did have it was garbage time, honestly.
Yeah.
35 completions on 46 attempts for 300 yards exactly. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, got sacked. And in Philly, week 1, 164 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But
that offensive line hasn't looked good. That defense hasn't looked good. I don't think Atlanta is going to compete for anything this year. That NFC South is just loaded with teams.
Cordell Patterson's kind of the waiver wire pickup. Everyone's like, "Oh, Cordell is going to do well." Yeah. I think it's just luck. I mean, I don't think there's any value in Cordell Patterson at all. Mike Davis is probably the man to have there if you're going to have someone there, but I don't think their running game is worth having.
The only person on the offense, frankly, is Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley is kind of the only person you'd really have.
Maybe Kyle Pitts too as well.
Yeah, but, Kyle Pitts. I mean, Kyle Pitts would have a decent game, but Calvin Ridley hasn't.
But that's I would say for tight ends is very similar to receivers. Like you want. It's going to take a year, and I think people are really up on Kyle Pitts, and they need to temper expectations just a bit.
Yeah, he can't be perfect right off the start, but yeah, I think tight ends develop in week or their second year or after their second year. Yeah, that's when they really get into form. But Calvin Ridley, 7 receptions on 10 targets for 63 yards and a touchdown last week. In the first week, he had 5 receptions on 8 targets for 51 yards, no touchdowns. So not really Calvin Ridley stats you really want as high as he was drafted.
Yeah. But they're not a good team, and they're gonna have to throw the ball a lot to stay. Yeah,
he's gonna a lot of garbage.
Yeah,
a lot of garbage.
Getting to the Giants. Just really quickly. So. Daniel Jones is a leading rusher, and yeah, he's a really good athlete.
You got them thighs in the backfield. You got them thunder thighs in the backfield. Daniel Jones is I understand it.
I don't think Saquon trusts the knee yet. Well, he doesn't trust the knee yet. Like
I understand.
I saw in that Washington game, he had an ability to cut back and get some more yardage, break a big play, and he just didn't do it. And I just don't think he fully trusts the knee, and when he does, he'll be fine. But this guy could be later on in the season. This guy could be blowing up. Saquon could be blowing up. I want to quickly touch on Sterling Shepard, who's the 8th ranked fantasy receiver right now. He's had, I believe, double-digit targets in the last 2 games. And he looks like the number one there right now in New York, despite Galladay making $17 million. Now it's going to take time for Galladay to get acclimated to that offense and get a rapport with Daniel Jones.
So, Sterling Shepard had 9 targets in the first and 10 in the second game last week. 9 receptions on 94, no touchdown last week, but 7 for 113 and 1 touchdown, 1. Looking pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I would start Sterling Shepard if you have
Kenny G. I think he's dealing with another injury, and there might be some time.
A hamstring.
Yeah, hamstring, and that derailed the season last year. And when Kenny G was playing last year, it was with Matt Stafford throwing him the ball. He was. I think he was averaging he was getting 17-point games just consistently.
Yeah.
Anytime he played, except for the one game he went out. But yeah, it doesn't look good for Kenny right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Daniel Jones has had a rushing touchdown in each game. And he is the leading rusher. I think, when Saquon kind of gets comfortable with his stuff, that should be fine. Next game.
It's 2 in the morning. I'm sorry.
Barely 2 in the morning.
It's 2:30.
Barely.
2:35, sir. But okay. Next game: the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They do not like each other.
Nope, not at all.
Look at Mr. Burrow first. So 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions last week. Did not look like a good week. A lot of garbage time points for T. Higgins, who I think is questionable, probably doubtful. I think.
Yeah.
Questionable.
Ja'Marr Chase has looked good in his first 2 games. Despite a lot of questions in the preseason. Joe Mixon had a great week 1, followed by kind of a pedestrian week 2 against Chicago, but they have a good run defense. So just be patient with Joe Mixon, and I think you'll see good results. I think this is really predicated on Joe Burrow taking a big step up this year and being able to make good decisions. He didn't last week. He threw an interception that wasn't pretty to the linebacker. But yeah, I think the Cincinnati team could be an explosive offense.
Yeah,
if Burrow
together. T. Higgins is doubtful, so he probably won't play. Touchdown in both games, almost 60 yards in both, and 4 receptions first, 6 in the second. Ja'Marr Chase, 54 last week, touchdown in both games as well. 101 in this first game, looking pretty decent stat line. The running game, ball. 69 yards on 20 attempts, no touchdowns last week, but in week 1 he did have 1 touchdown, 127 yards. Receiving is nothing. He had 5 receptions on the year, 25 yards.
Yeah,
nothing crazy for receiving. He is kind of a receiving back, But I think Joe Burrow needs to kind of learn how to dump it off and not throw it downfield. He's not Patty Mahomes,
Yeah.
Dump it off a little. Well, let's move on to these Steelers here.
Yeah. Ben Roethlisberger, isn't healthy right now. I feel like we've said that a lot. The offensive line hasn't looked particularly good. I don't think they can draft an offensive lineman that.
The defense is really stood up for them.
Yes. They do have a lot of injuries on their defense right now, though. A lot of question marks. Devin Bush for groin. Joe Hayden, I believe.
Now, I think the question call last week was Mike Tomlin, and a play that didn't matter, throwing to Deontay Johnson and him getting injured the last play. It doesn't look crazy. Deontay Johnson's always looking injured or always getting injured somehow, some way. It's never serious, and I don't think it's serious right now, but Ben does have that pectoral issue. Didn't practice Wednesday, was limited Thursday. I think he's going to play, but I mean, unless you're in a deep league, you really don't have Ben as a quarterback.
Najee Harris, you're starting Najee Harris, hoping he gets in the end zone.
Now, the targets have been there
for Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, Chase Claypool. If Johnson doesn't play, Chase Claypool is a good play.
Yeah,
I think Juju is gonna get the most receptions there, and then Chase Claypool might get those deep receptions.
Yeah.
If Ben plays. Now I don't know how it's gonna go
if he doesn't.
If he doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't know how well Chase will work with, but Chase is the big deep threat.
Yeah.
You know, and he can get up those. But Deontay Johnson, 12 targets, double digit targets in both games. Touchdown week 1, week 2, but it was over 100. He's just looking good this year. Juju's looking decent. 7 targets, 8 targets, over 50 yards. First game. Second, no touchdowns yet. I think Deontay is kind of just stealing everything.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean that's Ben's boy.
Yeah.
That is Ben's boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you touched on Najee Harris. I do think he needs to come into his own. He's a rookie running back, you know, and he was drafted pretty high, just like Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year.
Yeah.
Expected to do work right off the beginning, and it's hard to.
Especially with the offensive line not particularly playing well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he does have some pretty spectacular plays when he's able to, you know, to get on one-on-one or, you know, 1-1, but besides that, you know, nothing too crazy. 45 yard or 45 yards first game, 38 in the second game. Yeah, a receiving touchdown. Last week they kind of got it rolling for him. But let's talk about the next game, Paul.
The Ravens at the Detroit Lions. Homers.
How we do?
Yeah, we're homers.
It's all right. So you can't. Lions, as a Lions fan, we can't really expect much of this year. New coaching staff, new GM,
new system,
new everything. You know, I mean, they were looking pretty good first half. Kind of fell off in the second half. So,
they went into the halftime with a lead in Green Bay. I mean, Goff looked good for those first 2 drives. That first touchdown was moving out left and then throwing is ridiculous for a right-handed quarterback. Put it on the money. It was a good throw.
2 touchdowns last week against Green Bay, 3 against San Fran first week. Interception in both. 338 yards.
I don't know if I can honestly say I'd start any Lion with any sort of confidence other than Hockenson.
Yeah, I mean, the running back Swift is supposed to be
He's a good receiving back. He's been injured, and that's what kind of concerns me. If he's healthy, yeah, throw him out there, put him in your flex.
Last week he did have 4 receptions, 41 yards, and then 37 yards rushing, which is a decent stat line. He would have had a touchdown and would have topped it off pretty well, but Hockenson is start there. He did blow up last week. What the week prior?
Yeah.
Hockenson, my team, baby. Yeah. My team, baby. I did draft him pretty high, but he had 8 receptions on 9 targets for 66 yards and a touchdown. In week 1, he did pretty well. 97 yards and a touchdown, 8 receptions. So yeah, I mean, he's the receiver there, the number 1 receiver there. Baltimore.
Okay, let's talk about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
A thing that really just pissed me off was the second rushing touchdown where he could have just walked in the end zone, but he decides to flip into the end, and it pisses me off because it's like, who is in your camp not yelling at you to say, telling you not to do something like that? Because
he doesn't have that bag yet. What is this guy doing?
He does not have that contract yet.
God, what an idiot.
Yeah, if he lands on his head wrong, breaks his neck, and like messes with his spine, and he's just never the same runner again.
Like, not even like a serious injury like that. Even like if he tears the ACL or sprains his.
I mean, ACL is a pretty serious injury.
But like you can recover after that. I'm not talking about like something that's gonna alter your life, but like something you recover from. But maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, but like you're in the air. Like if he doesn't complete that flip, it lands on his head and something goes like. What do you do then? What do you do with the rest of your life? Yeah. Please stop doing that. For your own sake, please stop doing that. Please stop doing the beach football thing. That was ridiculous. That pissed me off as well. But yeah, he looked really good. I mean, he looks better as a passer. He looked good against the Raiders week 1.
Yeah, so last week he had 18 completions on 26 attempts for 239 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, got sacked once, but he had 107 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And 2 touchdowns, which that's where you get your fantasy value. Why he was
I
MVP
think
2
you
years
can.
ago.
I think at this point you can start Hollywood Brown with some confidence because the running game appears to be there well enough to the point where he's gonna get open and
Talk a little bit about Hollywood Brown. Let's get talents. I think he's a must start now. He's top 8, I believe, fantasy wide receiver. Week 1 he had 6 receptions on 6 targets, 69 yards and a touchdown. Week 2 he came out with 6 receptions on 10 targets for 113 yards and a touchdown. Looking pretty good, even though their practice field is Normandy Beach, landmines all over the place, taking out ACLs left and right. Paul,
it's ridiculous.
What is going on?
Yeah,
there?
I don't know if you can start any running back with any sort of confidence. You're hoping they get in the end zone.
No, I believe Tyson Williams is actually. I might be biased here, Paul.
You're probably biased
because I did pick up Tyson Williams, but this
Taysom, by the way, Taysom, bud.
Whatever. I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Paul. Okay. So week 1 he did have a touchdown on 9 attempts for 65 yards. Pretty decent stat line. Week 2 it comes out on 13 attempts for 77 yards, no touchdowns. So he could have easily had that touchdown, and just got stolen. Latavius Murray is kind of a vulture when it comes to that. Receiving, he had 5 receptions this year, about 40 yards, no touchdowns. If he gets these touchdowns, I think he's a pretty decent and steal. And I watched I know I'm so biased. I understand.
I don't know, man, because you got Le'Veon Bell on the practice. They just brought up Freeman from the practice squad.
Yeah, but they want that depth. Okay.
And they're allowing Lamar to run. I think
also vulturing from his.
I think Hollywood as well as Mark Andrews and obviously Lamar Jackson are the free ravens you start with confidence, and the running backs are kind of a wait and see.
I still like Williams.
Yeah.
I still like Williams. I just want to get a little Mark Andrews. Just want to see what he done so far. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 57 yards. So 10 points last week if you're a full PPR. 3 receptions and 5 targets for 20 yards week 1. And not the greatest start for Mark Andrews. But he's a touchdown kind of dependent dude as well.
Yeah, let me clarify something. So earlier in regards to our league, we're every 25 yards. That's for quarterbacks throwing the football. It's a point for every 25 yards throwing for our league. For every 10 yards rushing or receiving, that's a point.
Yeah, no,
in our league, it is different. We realize that, and I wanted to just clarify that.
Okay. Next.
Next one is the Jets and the Broncos.
Let's talk about. We can talk about the Broncos a little bit. The Jets.
Yeah,
the Jets. I really care about.
We'll just move past the Jets a little bit. Hopefully Zach Wilson. Hopefully they get targets for Zach Wilson out there.
So talk about a little Cortland Sutton. He got blew up last week.
Yeah.
9 receptions, 159 yards, no touchdown, but looked pretty good. It's against Jacksonville, so it is.
Petty 2 gloves got them 2-0 right now.
Yeah, gloves,
I don't know what to make of this backfield right now.
Yeah.
With Williams being drafted out of North Carolina, Melvin Gordon looked good week 1. That touchdown run was ridiculous. But I don't know if you can start any of those guys with confidence. Frankly, the only Bronco I'd be starting right now is Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. I think he was a start before he got injured last year.
Yeah.
He's a great wide receiver.
He is.
But this game, I just don't like any fantasy. Both these teams. Cortland Sutton is the guy. Teddy Bridgewater, if you're in a really deep league, you know. But I don't know. Next game.
The next game is the Dolphins and the Raiders. So Tua Tagovailoa will be out this game. Jacoby Brissett take over. This will be the first game with Will Fuller playing because week 1 he was suspended. Week 2 he was out for personal reasons. So this is his first game, and they already have Waddle there. Well, they drafted Waddle. They have Albert Wilson. They have Devontae Parker. There's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. I just don't know with Jacoby Brissett how it's gonna play out. I guess you could start any of these wide receivers. You're kind of in a little bit of iffy territory. It really depends on the targets and who Jacoby Brissett really trusts, and we don't know that at this point. With Will Fuller coming back, I would start Myles Gaskin, in a flex position, but as an RB2, I wouldn't be happy if he was my RB2.
Yeah, I mean, we got that guy in the league. He's RB1, baby.
Yeah, RB1. Yeah,
still trying to get running backs.
Yeah, trying to steal Nick Chubb from me. That's true. Not giving up Nick Chubb. Not at all.
He needs to give me Tyreek Hill, and I'll get trying to get Aaron Jones for Tyreek. It's not happening. Not happening. But yeah, I mean, the Raiders. There's not really much on the Dolphins to talk about, honestly.
Yeah.
The Raiders though are a little bit more interesting. I guess we can just start out with Derek Carr. Looking pretty good in these last 2 games. Over 300 yards the last 2 games.
Yeah, coming in questionable this week. He is just. It's time to start him. It's time to have him in your. He's the quarterback 6 right now in standard PPR.
4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Last week he kind of a little bit against these last 2 games are pretty decent.
Yeah.
Ravens and Pittsburgh, decent defenses, and he's gotten over.
He's finding Waller. This is without Josh Jacobs last week and this week. I'd like to see what they do. Right now I'm starting Kenyon Drake, in my super flex.
No, I think we should talk a little bit about Waller. Week 1 he had 19 targets. 19 targets.
Yeah.
19 targets. He's a receiver. He's not a tight end. 19 really targets, 105 yards on 10 receptions for a touchdown. Week 2 a little decline there. 5 receptions, 65 yards, no touchdown. But Waller's a baller, baby.
Yeah,
Waller's a baller. Yeah. They're in the game. Kenyon Drake's taking over with Josh Jacobs out. I know you're just talking about that.
Yeah. I'm starting him over Sterling Shepard. I'm hoping that works because the revenge game. Miami let him go, so hopefully the revenge game comes into play. But I really do like this offense when Josh Jacobs is on the field. Josh Jacobs is I love the guy. I love the man.
I did not like him because he told me he said start me in fantasy this week, and then he was out, and he knew he was going to be out because he doesn't like this fantasy anything.
Well, it's understandable.
If you like a person, it's Austin Eckler. He's a fantasy fan. He understands fantasy football. I think he plays himself.
I don't care about that. I like the fact that
I don't like him.
Whoa!
I think he's a snooty dude.
No. This is a guy who was.
It's not Keenan Allen who doesn't. It's not Keenan Allen who says start me and then gets taken out by the coaching staff. He knew he wasn't going to play, and he's like, play me this week. I guarantee I'm going to go off, and he knew he wasn't going to play that week.
Bro,
I'm
just saying the first time he was pulled from a game in like week 12 of his rookie year, he was on the sideline basically just in tears, standing next to General Manager Mike Mayock, and like. He loves this game, man. He loves this game.
God, Waller is one ugly motherfucker.
You know what?
I have to give it to him. Got that mocha skin.
We should really talk about the Raiders defense because they are playing fantastic.
Stepping up, dude. This Raiders team is looking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Max Crosby looks like a defensive player of the year candidate. Like honestly,
ridiculous.
That dude is everywhere, and like they were talking about him week 1. Monday Night Football, and John Gruden's like, I see this orange Porsche. It's all I get there at like 4:30 in the morning, and it's there, and I leave at like 10, 11 at night, and it's still there, and it was Max Crosby's Porsche. That guy has been working his butt off.
Jesus.
Third round pick out of Eastern Michigan, and just recovered alcoholic, has been sober a year. Good for him, as well as Darren Waller, sober for about that time, longer even. But yeah, Max Crosby said Darren Waller gave him the inspiration to stop drinking. He has a tattoo on his hands. He has a lot of tattoos, but the date he stopped drinking, tattooed on his hand, and he's been sober ever since. And we help from him, and we're happy that things like this, like mental health, talked about more. Football.
Oh yeah. I moved down to the Green Bay, San Francisco. I want to talk a little about Aaron Jones. He blew up last week after having a pretty poor week against the Saints week 1. I think everyone there just had a bad week. Kind of came to. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 3 receiving touchdowns, 67 yards, and this is against Detroit's defense, which is a pretty poor rushing defense.
Yeah, right now.
And then 6 receptions, 48 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, so Aaron Jones blew up. Came into 4. I'm not trading that guy away for the life of me.
Nope.
I love it. Talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. So he did have a very, very poor performance week 1 against Orleans. 113 yards, 15 for 28, 133 yards. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Comes back with a vengeance week 2, 4 touchdowns
against our Lions.
Yeah, against our Lions. Fortunately, never has 2 bad games in a row.
Doesn't do
22 2 completions on 27 attempts, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's looking great.
Yeah.
Honestly. Instant start.
He was kind of shaky that first half, but once he started to feel it and started to get that rhythm back, yeah, that's a guy you start. You're starting Devontae Adams, you're starting Aaron Jones, you're starting Aaron.
Yeah, speaking of Devontae Adams, 8 receptions on 9 targets, 121 yards, no touchdowns, but it just makes up for the receptions and the yards. And pretty much every other receiver there is pretty decent. They're not gonna get a lot of volume. I think Devontae Adams is gonna steal most of that.
Truly.
But they are threats, and they could have games
like Robert Tonyan in the red zone, especially.
Yeah, exactly. But what it is what it is. Now there is a man I want to talk about, and his fantasy value has shot down so low from the beginning of the season. And it's Brandon Ayuk. I just want to talk about it. He has, 1 reception on 2 targets for 6 yards, and that is it this year. And he was touted as going to be like a top
the next guy. The next guy. And that is quite clearly to everyone who watches football, Deebo Samuel right
now. Going up. But yeah, Brandon Ayuk is not doing much. Maybe he turns it around, but I don't think so. I just don't think so. Deebo Samuel first week against the Lions. Again, this is the Lions. It's 9 receptions, 12 targets, 189 yards, and a touchdown. Ridiculous. And then last week he had 6 receptions for 8 targets, 93 yards, no touchdown, but it's pretty decent. The running backs are pretty sad. Hoping Elijah Mitchell is the man who takes over. He has a shoulder injury though. He's trying to work. He did not practice.
Yeah,
so he's doubtful to play.
But Raheem Mostert out for the year. It's going to be a running back by committee situation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just start George Kittle. I know last week the stats weren't there, and you don't like that, and you're scared. Start George Kittle.
Yeah, that's all you have. Trey Sherman's going to be the running back, I'm pretty sure, starting tomorrow. And maybe he takes the job. I don't know. The whole running back, San Francisco running game is gambles right now. Yeah, nothing crazy. San Francisco, they're 2-0, but
Yeah, it's
I don't think it's a deserved 2-0.
yeah.
And I think the Packs are gonna
Walk in there,
take it to them.
yeah. Let's talk about the Seahawks, the Vikings.
Minnesota. Now, last week, I mean, blowing up. Let's talk about my boy Kirk. A little bit of Kirk action. I think the anti-vaxxer. I think a hardcore conservative. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
I don't get the hate of vaccine.
Whatever. Is there whatever? 3 touchdowns last week. 22 completions on 32 attempts, 244 yards. They had to keep throwing the ball because it was just a shootout.
Yeah.
It was a shootout, and
with Dalvin going down early, and luckily, coming back. No, thankfully coming back.
No.
They played really well. They did.
Justin Jefferson's looking pretty good. 6 receptions on 10 targets for 65 yards and a touchdown. Pretty decent stat line. He was drafted pretty high, coming in the second year.
You're gonna want to start feeling. A lot of people are down on feeling. I am not down on feeling. If they get in the red zone, what they often do, feeling is the guy in the red zone. He really is.
He is the guy. He's trusted. He has rapport with Kirk Cousins. He had 6 receptions on 7 targets. For a touchdown and 39 yards. Week 1, 9 receptions on 10 targets for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's blowing up there. He's catching all the balls that are thrown to him pretty much. I mean, he's looking so good. Dalvin Cook, we can talk about Dalvin Cook. But,
like 133 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, everyone knows Dalvin's just a start.
Yeah. Dalvin's set and forget.
Yeah, set and forget. 131 yards, no touchdowns last week, but on 22 attempts. And then week 1, he had 20 attempts and 61 yards and a touchdown. It's just,
yeah. Talk about the Seahawks a bit. Russell Wilson has been slinging it. I feel like this is very similar to last year. He starts hot, and then that running game kind of takes over. Chris Carson owners, like the man sitting to my left right now, no, don't fret, because when it gets colder and they have games late in the season and they need to run football because there are injuries and things like that, Chris Carson's going to be the guy. I feel like this happens every year. Tyler Lockett blows up at the beginning of the season, which he has been, and at the end of the season, it kind of tampers off just a bit. I think the only one that I consistently want is DK Metcalf.
Yeah, DK Metcalf is kind of. Russell Wilson last week had 22 completions on 31 attempts for 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has 6 touchdowns thus far, no interceptions. He's looking phenomenal. Rushing is not rushing too much. Veteran quarterback.
A good thing, yes.
Yeah,
good thing.
Yeah. Chris Carson. Sorry, for the quick here, it pulls up. Chris Carson, he had a pretty nice week last week. 31 yards, nothing too crazy, but 2 touchdowns. Week 1, he had 91 yards, but no touchdowns. I mean, week 1 it was against a pretty decent defense in Indianapolis. Indianapolis. So I mean, I think Chris Carson's a must start, honestly. Yeah. Like he just feed him a ball.
Be patient with him. I think later in the season, again, he'll be more consistent. I'm not dismissing like Tyler Lockett as a wide receiver.
Yeah,
potentially, but I feel like we've seen this so much before. We saw this last season where he blew up at the beginning, and by the end, he wasn't getting more than like 5 or 6 targets a game.
Yeah, so
because they were running the football, and that's what they need to do to help that defense.
Last week, Tyler Lockett had 8 receptions on 11 targets for 178 yards and a touchdown. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, that over-the-shoulder catch was so beautiful.
But yeah, I think
it was so beautiful.
Metcalf is going to be the guy down the line. That's hold on to your DKs. I mean, he's just
Hold
he's
on,
not a human.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be real.
he isn't. He really isn't. And again, late in the season, people have injuries. You're not the same, physically as you are from September to December. Like you're not the same physical. That guy is the same physically. That's a scary dude. That's a grown man. Tampa Bay and Los Angeles, man. We'll talk about that next.
I was thinking about doing.
I want to save Monday Night Football for our last and final. I'm so sorry. I know. I know.
All right. Yeah,
I mean, we could talk about Monday.
Yeah,
let's talk about Monday.
I just like that. I like that game. I like Tampa Bay
because it is the game of the week. We could do that. Okay.
Let's start off with. I'm gonna say let's start off with the Eagles because I like Cowboys. The Cowboys have more things. Jalen Hurts looks pretty decent.
He looked really good week one, and
off a crappy team. Wow, making it work.
Yeah, I really like the Devontae Smith drafting. I'd like to see more from Miles Sanders, but I think we know what Miles Sanders is.
Jalen Hurts is kind of stealing those rushing yards.
Yeah, really, he is.
It looks so good.
He does look so good. Picture perfect accuracy. He's looking good. Unfortunately, they lost Brandon Graham for his Achilles. The defense is still very good though, and I am looking forward to seeing the rest of the season with Jalen Hurts and how he kind of elevates his play.
Now, I think let's just switch to Cowboys, baby.
Yeah, let's just talk.
Who doesn't love the Cowboys? Let's talk a little Dak Prescott action. Week one, it was 42 completions on 58 attempts.
Didn't miss a step.
403 yards. I mean, they just had to throw the ball because they couldn't run the ball.
No.
3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Last week, Dak kind of fell off a little bit because they didn't have to throw the ball as much to get the dubs. 23 completions on 27 attempts, 237 yards, just an interception. He ran just a little bit, 13 on the first game, but it didn't run last week at all.
Similar to Josh Allen, they're probably telling him not going to run you as much, but I mean, he still has goal line touches, which is crazy to me. Ezekiel Elliott. I want to talk a little bit about Ezekiel. He's getting touches taken by Tony Pollard.
A bunch of touches.
I feel like at this point they are trying to save Ezekiel Elliott for when it matters.
Yeah, I think it's also a scheme a little bit because you see if you have Tony Pollard and Zeke in the game, you think it's going to Zeke, and they just dump it off to Pollard. They fake it to Zeke. They'll do a little play action pass, dump it to Pollard, and he's getting all these fantasy points. I don't believe it's sustainable, and I believe teams are gonna kind of watch out for that.
Yeah. But that's why you have those 2 receivers on the outside that are monsters. Amari Cooper has looked fantastic.
Offensive coordinator for Dallas. He was
Kellen Moore.
Former
Boise State quarterback. Won bunch of games there.
Lion quarterback. Quarterback coach promoted to.
Eventually going to be a head coach. 100%. He was a carryover from the Jason Garrett staff. I just don't think that Mike McCarthy wanted to take away all the good things that Dak Prescott was doing under Kellen Moore, and Kellen Moore is going to be a head coach in this league. But yeah, I really do want to talk about these receivers because Amari Cooper looks as good as ever looked.
Fell off a little bit last week. So I just got my.
I understand that, but his route running, if you've watched Hard Knocks, he looks very good.
Week 1, he looked like a top 5 talent. Week 2, he kind of dropped off. But he definitely is a top 10 receiver. This year. I mean, it's
definitely.
There's no doubt.
But that's not saying anything against CeeDee Lamb, who in our league had 25 points the first week and 17 the second week. Yeah.
Oh my. Stupid ad. A stupid ad, Paul. I can't even pull up stats here. Going all haywire on me.
Okay, well,
we're gonna have to do a top of the dome, baby.
Yeah. So basically, I believe, I'm not entirely certain, that CeeDee Lamb had 4 catches for 81 yards, and he had some returning, which counts in our league. But may not in yours. So he may have less in your. But
I don't know. It is so slow right now, Paul.
so I would say start all your Cowboys.
Yeah, just start your Cowboys. Let's be honest. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, you're gonna start him.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking? Gallup is a flex and a deep week.
Yes, injured right now. However, but
yeah. But I mean, when he is healthy, he's
Wilson right now. If you in a deeper league right now, he'll be the a flex option, a slot receiver type, and Dak Prescott, trust him. So that's important. I'm saying start every single Cowboy. I would start Tony Pollard if I had Tony Pollard. I would start Ezekiel Elliott. I'd start Dak Prescott. I'd start.
Yeah, I mean they're just gonna throw the ball. They're just gonna.
That's a good offense, and this is gonna be an offensive game.
Let's start. Let's go to Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Okay. Let's start off with the receiving core of Tampa Bay. It's just ridiculous. Gronk is a start. I think Gronk is because they have so many weapons in offense, and Gronk
he's not gonna carry that pace of 2 touchdowns a game. It's not gonna happen. But I mean,
he's gonna get you 60 yards a game. You know, not every single game, but if he can't give you some touchdowns, he's gonna get you 60 yards.
Hopefully he stays healthy. That's what we're hoping for. But
he's slipping up the middle of the field. They don't have enough coverage.
Yeah,
for him.
They don't have anyone because you have Antonio Brown in the slot.
That's perfect just route runner. You got Mike Evans on the side who blew up last game. Week 1 he got shut down because of Trayvon Diggs, really good matchup there.
Who, if he didn't make a ridiculous reach, Mike Evans would have caught that.
Yeah.
We don't know how far he would have run, but he would have run far.
Mike Evans out there, I'm pretty disappointed in week 1. But I understand what happened, and I think Mike Evans is the number 1 receiver there.
Yeah.
Where they want to shut him down. That's why they had Trayvon on him. So
if you have Chris Godwin, I feel very comfortable starting Chris Godwin.
Yeah, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown this week. Honestly,
I would
don't think Mike Evans is the greatest because they might have Oh, what's his name?
Scotty Mitch.
No. Defensive player. God, why can't I think of his name right now?
Jalen Ramsey.
I think they'll have Jalen Ramsey on Mike Evans all day.
I think Jalen Ramsey will move depending on who is kind of torching. This is going to be an offensive game. I'd say start every one of your receivers that you have for Tampa Bay.
I just think they're going to try to go off of Tampa Bay versus the Cowboys week 1. They're gonna try to copy that because it's gonna be a shootout. It's gonna be a shootout in this game.
Yeah, truly.
It's a huge shootout.
I don't know if I trust any of their running backs. If I'm starting one, if you're asking me to start one, it's Fournette.
Yeah, it's Fournette.
I just don't know if I can trust Ronald Jones right now.
Rojo fell off. He was pretty decent last year. He had some pretty big games, but yeah. Most of the wide receivers you start. Tommy touchdowns.
Yeah, you're starting Tom Brady. You're starting
Tommy touchdowns. You get 4 touchdowns easy this week. The defense is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You move on the other side of the ball, you have Matt Stafford throwing it. And it's to Cooper Kupp exclusively. Him and Cooper Kupp are boys or something.
Yeah, I honestly think like Cooper Kupp's just a really good receiver, and Jared Goff just do that, and now Matt. And now the entire NFL knows that because
last year Cooper Kupp kind of fell off, but last week he had 9 receptions on 11 targets.
That's his boy.
63 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's his boy.
Oh. And then week 1 is 7 receptions on 10 targets for 108 yards and a touchdown. And the guy who has him in our league did not start him.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
He could have won.
Yeah.
He could have won. I don't know why you don't start him. I get it. Whatever. Robert Woods, decent. It's a little iffy. I think you start him this. You definitely start him this week.
You start him this week
because it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, it's going to be a shootout. I'd start Higbee. I'm starting Higbee. Yeah. I think that last week it was just the game plan went to Cooper Kupp. It was Cooper Kupp all day. I think Higbee's going to get some targets. Going to look better, and if they get in the red zone, we don't know the status of Gerald Henderson right now. He's going to be a game time decision. If you have Sony Michel,
maybe start him, but I think it's just going to be a shootout. They're throwing it downfield. Wide receivers, tight ends. That's all you can play.
I mean,
I don't like any running backs in this game.
I disagree because if Sony Michel is playing, he's going to get targets from it.
Yeah. Matthew Stafford is going to check down because it has a veteran quarterback move. So you changed my mind, Paul. Sony Michel if you have him.
If you have him, and if Darrell Henderson's not playing.
Yeah, if Darrell Henderson's not playing. But if he is, it's not good. I'm not starting Darrell Henderson.
So I think that's it for week 3 and our games. So best of luck to you and your fantasy teams, and your regular teams in general. Except if you're a Patriots fan and you want them to win, because I don't want them to win, or a Bears fan.
Well, anyway,
Sorry. I have respect for Dick Butkus. Respect for Dick Butkus.
All right. Anyway, we'll catch you next week. We'll break down. We'll see what had happened, and
what had happened.
What happens? I don't know. Good luck this week.
Yes. Good luck.
Peace.
Bye.